What did I just watch? What was this? Yeah, I can see why until now I didn't bother with this movie. But hey there guys, this is Cole. Welcome back to another Halloween horror movie reviews episode. We're on episode 10. And today we're doing an epic rant on a movie that I really did not like called SkidMarkRink. But you know what? This movie's so stupid that I am going to title this review SkidMarkRink because that would be a more fitting name for this awful movie that I really did not like. Now, this is a movie that I had heard for 2 years was awful. For example, one of my favorite movie reviewers on YouTube, OCP Communications, he really hated this movie and he did a rant on it. And based on his rant, it sounded really bad. So I had no intent. So initially, I had no intention on watching it. But because it's the month of October and because I'm reviewing horror movies, I'm like, well, I gotta review something, you know, whether it's an old or new movie. And I saw that it was streaming for free on Tubi, which I own that streaming service. So, you know, I figured, you know, maybe I might not mind this movie. Like, okay, here's the thing. I was hoping at the very least that this movie would just be mediocre. No, I don't think this movie was mediocre. In fact, I really hated it. But what is the plot? To the movie but what is the plot to the movie called SkidMarkRink? But you know what? No, I refuse to call it that. I am going to call it SkidMarkRink. So what is the plot to SkidMarkRink if anyone actually cares? So the plot of this movie is as follows. Two children awake in the middle of the night to discover that their parents are gone. With only each other for support, they face a night of terror. Like, that's the plot to the movie, if you want to call it that. Because honestly, this movie does not feel like it has a plot at all. Like, and my goodness, this movie was boring. Like, yeah, no wonder I didn't watch this movie until today. And now, I know this movie is, I know Google says that this was a 2022 movie, but the only reason that is because this movie premiered at a film festival in 2022. However, the movie did not get a wide release in theaters until January of 2023. So for that reason, I'm going to consider this, I'll put 2023 in the title of this rant. But yeah. This movie sucked. It was really bad. So let's get into my review. But to be honest, like, what is there for me to talk about? Like, honestly, like, nothing happens. Like, what is there for me to talk about, really, with this movie? But when the movie came out, you know, people were hyping this movie up on TikTok. Ooh, it's so scary. It's one of the scariest movies ever made. If you think this is one of the scariest movies ever made, I'm sorry. Then clearly you have not watched enough horror movies. Because this was not scary at all in the least, okay? The streets in New York are more scary than this. The streets in Chicago are more scary than this movie. So the movie starts off, yeah, let's get into this review. If anyone actually cares to hear me rip this awful movie apart. So the movie starts off where there's a little boy and a little girl who, they basically love their parents very much. And, you know, they're about to go to bed because their parents tuck them into bed and stuff like that. However, this movie is terribly lit. Like, my goodness, like, the lighting in this movie is terrible. Like no joke, okay? I'm gonna turn off the light just to show you how bad the lighting is. Like you see this wall over here and you see the door. You know how you can barely... Yeah, okay, you see this door over here and the wall? Like, yeah. That's how bad the lighting is in this movie. And now look. Now look. Now look. I know I don't really have experience with filmmaking and all that, but I could film something on YouTube that would look better. And but here's the thing. I could literally film something on YouTube with no money that would look better than this movie. And this movie did not have a high budget either. I think this movie only had like a $15,000 budget, and yeah, like this movie was I know I'm discombobulated and this review's all over the place, but I feel like this movie's all over the place. This movie was directed by a guy named Kyle Edward Ball, who I don't know who he is, but in all honesty, he did a terrible job with this movie. And this is the only movie he's directed. And this movie came out 2 years ago. No wonder he has not directed a movie since this came out, because this movie was atrocious. And I know people were hyping this movie up on TikTok. If this movie was so great, then answer me this. Why is nobody talking about this movie 2 years later if it was such a good movie? Huh? Answer me that. Riddle me that, Batman. Come on, that was a little humor. I had to throw some, that's called sarcasm. I had to throw some sarcasm in here to get me through this, but yeah. Like I said, you have these two kids who, in the middle of the night, their parents disappear, and not only do the parents disappear, but guess what? Guess what? All of the windows in the house disappear too. Because, ooh, scary. No, this movie's not scary, okay? I'm sorry, but a movie that was darkly lit, where you can't see, when you can barely see anything going on and just loud noises, that's not scary to me, okay? Like, busy traffic in cities is scarier than this movie. And this movie has 4 actors in it. You got Lucas Paul, Dolly Rose, Tetruel, I think that's how you pronounce it, Ross Paul, and Jamie Hill. And in all honesty, I thought all the acting was terrible in this movie. And again, I hate to rag on kid actors, because they're just kids and they're trying their best with the material that they're given. But I didn't think the acting was good in this movie in particular. And then there is an entire scene where a chair is upside down on the ceiling because, ooh, that's meant to be so scary, right? No. And then you have the whole scene later on in the movie where the little girl who's looking for the parents, she basically goes into the parents' bedroom, and there is a doll on top of the ceiling, but the doll falls on top of her. Like, to be honest, I did not find that scene scary at all. I thought that scene was just kind of lazy, to be honest. Like, it was a lazy jump scare that was so predictable. This movie is so predictable to the point to where it's not even funny. And then there's the whole scene where, now granted, I don't know the technical term for this, but there's the whole scene where you basically have, if someone knows the name of what this product is, let me know in the comment section down below. But there's a scene in the movie where there is a fake plastic toy phone, but it's like one of those toy phones that it's one of those toy phones, but it has like 4 wheels on it, and it has like 2 eyes and a smile on its face. Like, again, I mainly recognize that item from Toy Story 3, because I did see that movie when I was a kid, which is much better than this, by the way. But there's this whole scene where the toy phone with wheels, like, somebody turns on a flashlight, and the toy's all normal looking, but then its eyes turn a different color, and you know, all the people on TikTok made a big deal about that scene. And I'm like, really? You think this is scary? Yeah, okay. It was so lazy and cliche, to be honest. And this entire movie is one big cliche. but I gotta calm down before I burst a blood vessel, because that would not be good. But anyways, getting back to the movie, getting back to it, the little boy's sister disappears because in the house there is a monster ghost. There is a monster that, now the movie doesn't exactly establish what it is, but I'm assuming that the monster is like some ghost, demonic entity type of creature, and this is probably the only positive thing I can say about the movie. Like, I will admit, I do think the voice of the demon is actually, I do think that the voice of the demon is decently creepy. I mean, it's not knock your pants off scary, but I think that the voice of the demon is decently effective for what it is. Like, later on in the movie, the little boy is asking where his sister is, and we do not see the creature on camera, but the creature basically says, "You will be okay if you listen to me and do as I say." And the demon says, "Your sister wanted to see her mom and dad, so I took her mouth away," and stuff like that. Like, okay, that line of dialogue was actually not bad. And again, I think that the voice is decently creepy for what it is, and a decent voice overall. Like, but that's it. One decent thing about this movie, but one decent element like that is not enough to save the rest of this boring, awful movie. That I really did not like at all. And the whole ending to the movie is stupid too. Where the little boy is walking in the hallway, the camera is upside down. We do not see it on the screen, but the boy is basically walking to a dark void upside down on the ceiling, and the demon or whatever, and the demon makes him go to sleep forever, if you catch my drift, off screen, and we see certain red liquid, which we all know what that is, spray on the carpet and stuff like that, but then there's this whole weird thing where, okay, so it's there before, and then it disappears, and then it goes back. I'm like, what is it? Like, okay, like, what is this? What are we doing here, people? And that's the end of the movie! Like, really? Really? Oh, okay, like this whole journey where it's about these kids trying to find their parents, they don't find their parents, and they all die at the end of the movie. Great. Just great. And it's done in the most lazy way possible. And for all the people who said they saw something scary in this movie, like, to be honest, I have no idea. For all the people who call this scary, I have no idea what version of the movie you saw, but that's not the version I saw, to say the least. But I mean, at the end of the day, in all seriousness, if any of you actually do like this movie, that's fine. You know, I don't have a problem with that. It's just we agree to disagree, and I don't get why anyone would like this movie, but again, like OCP Communications said, I don't get the hype for this movie, but it's not supposed to be my job. It's not supposed to be my job to get it. It's our job to critique it as critics and give our honest thoughts on it, and if people like it, let them enjoy what they want, which I agree with that statement. And OCP Communications, if you're ever watching this video, I thank you for that statement. But before I finish this rant, are there any positive qualities to this movie? Okay. even though it is only in one scene, the whole scene where the demon says she wanted to see her mommy and daddy, so I took her mouth. Like, okay, like that conversation bit is decently creepy. I'll give it that. And it's very few and far between, but there's some imagery in this movie that's not bad. I'll give it that, but that's really about all this movie has going for it. And in another stupid thing I forgot to mention, the whole kids trapped in the home, it goes on for 572 days, so for over a year, and it led to nothing. So yeah, screw this movie. I really did not like it at all. I would not recommend you guys watch this for October, even if you're curious to see how bad this movie is. I would not, and I feel like I wasted my time watching this movie just to review it, but at least I never have to talk about this movie ever again. So yeah. Anyways, guys, that was my rant on SkidMarkRink, or as I'm gonna call it, it is called SkidMarkRink. So yes. Anyways, guys, that was my review for SkidMarkRink, and if you guys are wondering how I'm going to rate this movie on a scale of 1 to 10, this is how I'm going to rate this movie. So overall, if you're a fan of horror movies and you want to see a really good horror movie, a new horror movie to watch this October, I would recommend you skip this movie because this movie was not good at all, and in all honesty, I know a lot of people like the movie Smile. In my personal opinion, I thought that the movie Smile sucked, and it was a lazy ripoff of The Rain and It Follows. But as much as I hate that movie, but with Smile, as much as I hate that movie, I would rather sit through it than watch whatever this was ever again. So yeah, because as bad as Smile was, at least that movie actually had a plot. This movie didn't. So yes, this movie's awful. On a scale of 1 to 10, I am going to give SkidMarkRink a 1.5 out of 10. And I'd recommend you avoid this train wreck. So yeah. So, we're all done with this rant. Thank God. Now I can move on to review. Now my next review will be something more positive and a movie I actually like. So yeah. Anyways, guys, that's it for my epic rant on SkidMarkRink, and yeah, we'll catch you guys for the next video. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But don't forget to like and share the video, and go subscribe to One Soul Pictures. Later. Screw this movie.